All right, Stu, welcome to the cave.
I see that. It's a pretty nice cave.
Yeah, it's work of art.
Yeah. I did not realize you were such a fan of Bigfoot.
Dude, I love Bigfoot. Bigfoot is something I want to actually do an episode on Bigfoot. Yeah. But yeah, welcome to the cave.
Yeah.
So, how's everything going?
Going good.
Going good?
Yeah.
Going good?
Typical fall, winter stuff. Coming out of winter. It's just colds and such, but going pretty good.
Yeah. Getting all your sponsors ready for next year?
Yeah, we got a few lined up already. So most of them are all returning sponsors for 2024.
Yeah.
So already looking forward to that. And those will be, I've announced those on my page, the Stuart Racing page on Facebook already.
Yeah.
The most recent, newest one to come back is Foothills Flooring and Tile. Webster's Service Center has also returned. And I got a new one that's kind of not new, but it's an individual that has supported me in the past. But now he has an entity that has promote himself as Twist Family Farms out of Iowa. That's Mike Twist and Al Parsons that has helped us last year.
Yeah.
Decided to keep some of the money in the racing family. So
nice. That's pretty cool.
Alan's photography has also returned. That was the first one to sign on, one of the first ones. And our race day recap presenting sponsor, Chasing the Checkers, has already also returned.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. So you're doing good. How's the family doing?
They're good. Kids are growing like weeds, and wife is home dealing with them.
There we go. All right. And how's
my wife says hi, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much. Hi back. How's Penny doing?
Penny is still in need of some repair and a new dress. Haven't been able to do much to her to repair from the last race at Oxford, where I hit the wall on Friday night, and then the damage on the last lap on Saturday. And hopefully, the next few weeks, it's going to be going over to the guy that built it, Matty, the Maple Lab Motorsports.
Yep.
It is. He said he'd replace the horns for me, and then figure out where we're going to do the body work.
Awesome. So while we got the topic of that crash at Oxford up, it didn't hit the video of the accidents and what you do after a crash, so on and so forth. But let's take a look at it real quick.
Yep.
And so this happened. Yep. Oh, bam.
Yeah. So you don't see what caused that. I never made contact with another vehicle. I was in the process of trying to pass another vehicle, but I had never got up beside him.
Yeah.
And I had hit. This was at Oxford on Friday the 13th.
Oh.
Which I was already skeptical about.
Right.
And I think it was also a full moon, or there was a full moon about to come up, which is always, it just makes trouble.
Right.
So I had, earlier in the race, this was about lap 15 or so, I had, earlier in the race, trying to avoid another wreck. Oxford has a curve. See that white on the exit of the corner right there, that white line on the inside of the corner? That is curbing. That's probably about 4 or 5 inches tall. I'd hit that and knocked a toe out, so the car wasn't as good as it was earlier in the day, the practice and the heat race.
Yep.
So it knocked the toe out, which developed a tight problem. So that's why I was caught so far back in the field at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was trying to set up the car I was trying to pass, I was really wide, trying to cut down underneath him, and I was wasn't outside of the race groove, but up where not a lot of people run.
Right.
And I had run something over. It sounded like it was a spring, and it cut the right front tire, and I got it turned a little bit, but I pretty much just made a beeline straight for the front stretch wall. And at that point in time, I was just along for the ride. A lot like the trip to the woods. It was just I could see it coming and just kind of, all right, if I tense up, it's going to hurt worse, so just kind of try to make sure I take care of myself in the car.
And that's where you pray on your safety equipment working for sure.
At first, I didn't think it was that bad because I actually didn't hit the wall itself. I hit the outside tractor trailer tires, or the tractor tires that they line the wall with to soften the impact. So I thought, maybe it's not that bad. So that's why I backed it off of the corner, off of the front stretch wall there. And then I started driving forward to see what was going on, and I had the wheel turned all the way left. I was turning right. So ultimately, all it did, as far as the car, is that's when the front frame horns got bent towards the driver's side, and they kind of rotated. And then as far as bolt-on stuff, the only thing that damaged was the right front spindle.
Mm-hmm.
So Ray had a spare. I grabbed that night. But as far as the crash itself, that's the hardest one to date, which was it wasn't the last race, but it was the last race weekend of the 2023 season for us.
Right. Wow.
So
The last one, that figures.
Yeah, I was at the last race, but it was the ending of the beginning of the end, because I was still. After the next day when we left, the plan was to get it to Ray's, get on the lift to take a look at it to see just how bad it was. But I was still holding out hope, because the last race of the season was coming up in November that I wanted to do. It was the Turkey Derby or something.
Oh yeah.
They had been racing at another track, and then the promoter brought it over to Star, and I wanted to run it, and I wasn't able to because there was too much, and I had already used up whatever extra funds I had all year chasing that fuel issue. So, but we got it all apart. Actually, left the car and the trailer there that night, and I went home. Ray talked with me pretty much all the way home. I told him what the car was doing beforehand, what it was doing, and I sent him some pictures of the damage and whatnot. He goes, "Well, I have," because he raced the Monte Carlo when he was in Wildcat, and so everything that was still good to use for my car when he sold his, he kept his for me. So he said, I told him it needs at least the right front spindle. So he goes, "Well, I got a right front spindle. I'll set it out on top of my trash can this morning. You can either grab it tonight on your way home, or you can grab it tomorrow morning on your way back up." And that's what I did. So he got me, just in case, a center link, tie rod ends, inner and outer, and a spindle. But all he needed was a spindle.
Nice.
Well, if you want to relay it right into Saturday, I had a pretty good day. Saturday, thrashed on it all Saturday morning.
Yeah.
My Maple Ave brethren, Maddie, his son Josh, and them who race Oxford all last year, with the sister cars, the one of Derek McKean and the 14 of Tyler Lerman. Their team had it all apart, but I got there a little late, but they had it all right front all apart. I got there with the spindle, and they got back to working on their cars because I told them I could get it back together. Worked on it all morning, missed a practice, backed it around to drive it around the pit area, developed another problem that I fixed, but we fixed it. Got the front end. The front two tires pointed to the same direction as the rear two tires, and gave it a nice alignment, and went out and started pulling the second heat race, and I like to think I ran away with it, but I ended up with the checker flag, but that only lasted a little bit because I was legal for Star, but not legal for Oxford. So,
right. Let's watch that race real quick, just so we can recap it while we're live here. How's that? So that's this one here, right?
This is the last lap. Who's behind me is Nate Barth and then Corey Morgan. Corey Morgan is actually the champion for that division at Oxford this past season.
Oh.
So we had a late race caution, and I kind of fended him off. Yeah.
There we go.
First heat race win for myself that unfortunately didn't stick because of it's just the way it goes when you race those open races. It's especially when you go to another track that you don't typically race at.
Right.
I think I actually had a left front spring that was giving out on me because there was a frame height, ride height issue at Oxford that I got DQ'd for. But when Star had measured my frame height, the previous race to that, the last race at Star, I ran cross tech and I was still within 6 inches. So this was almost a month after the last race. So I think sitting on the trailer, that left front spring kind of started to give out.
I got you.
You'll have that. I was unhappy at the time, but it is what it is. I still have the picture of the checker flag right there where you see me coming off of, and that'll last a while. And the fact that I could hold off that track's defending champion, or now at the time current champion, is I think I held my head pretty high on that. I fixed the issue for the feature because I got DQ'd. It put me starting last at 20 cars, and I was battling 3 wide for 8th coming to the checkers.
Wow!
Until I got drove through by someone else. But they'll have that in big time auto racing. So.
Right.
But still good. It was still a good weekend overall. It was the fastest I've ever been at Oxford that whole weekend. We actually fixed the issue from Friday night to race Saturday, and the car was just as fast, maybe even a little faster than what it was Friday. Wow! And there was very little fall off. I got caught behind a couple cars. That's why it took me so long to get to 8th. We also had probably, it felt like 15 or 16 cautions in a 20-25 lap feature, but don't let the facts get in the way of the story.
I got you. All right. So, overall, how did you finish the season? Did you have fun? Real quick, did you have fun?
That's always the number one goal.
Yeah.
Is to have fun. I've wanted to do this long enough. This is my 22. This was my third full season, and the fun part is always the number one goal.
Yeah.
And if I'm not having fun, it's not worth doing.
Exactly.
So I did have fun. This year brought some new experiences, especially the second half of the year, really starting to battle with the faster cars, and I'm still not fast enough to really hold them up for too long. A long time, but I'm fast enough now that they got to work for it now.
Right, yeah.
So that's kind of the small team, smaller budget mentality that I've really developed this year. Is little steps at a time. Just every little thing will help towards the end, and battling with the perennial front runners every week is really good. I was aided by I did get to start up front a few times, but they still got to pass me.
Right.
So they're still going to catch me, still going to pass me. I got my first podium this year, which was really good. Followed that up with a trip through the woods the following day, it is what it is, but it was still fun.
Yep. Wow. That's cool. And like where you ended up after having all that fun, where you ended up, was it better than what you had even projected during our first interview?
I had to, I know when this time last year when we had our intro interview, I wanted to be battling for wins, but fighting with that fuel gremlin all season with the carburetor and whatnot, and it limited how much. I kind of had to cheat a little bit and alter my goals, but I still gave it as much effort as I could with what limited funds I had. But we nabbed 7th in points in the last race. We were able to have just a few points to get 7th in points. I've never really battled for anything higher than 10th in points. Yeah. Other than this past season.
Outstanding.
And I sent you the picture of my wristbands this year. I sent them to you last night, and that's what started me going through the Stuart Racing page to kind of come up with some notes for today. Is last year for 2022 with the brand new car. So take that into account. My average finish was 10th in 2022. Yeah. I increased that this year to 7th, and the last half of the season, I think I was near a top 5, or I was in the top 5. Yeah. So this year was the first year where, other than once, I had to roll through the tech area, which is always a step in the right direction when you're not really used to that. So, so the car got teched, which is a good sign. That means you're finishing top 5 at the end of the night. I got the heat win at Oxford, which is an extracurricular on top of, but still.
So when you said that you were run through the tech, that's what I experienced after your coming in third that night, right? That was when they took you back.
Oh, yeah. So that was the first time I had been through tech before. I think I was through once, and I think it was the last heat race of the season at Star last year, or maybe it might have been championship night the previous year in 2022. Which was nice, and it was for the heat race. You just kind of roll over the scales, and then they check your weight and your left side percentages and everything, and then as long as you're good, you get a thumbs up. Right. So this year was the first year that I really I ended up having the ability to, all right, it's top 3 in the heat races, throw through the scales at least. Top 5 at the end of the night after feature, go through the scales. So the top 3 go on the front stretch, like you saw, have their interviews with the announcer, and then 4th and 5th will go across the scales and then on the tech slab in the pit area. Yep. I think we was 3 or 4 times this year. Penny got to roll across the slab in the pit area on the tech slab, which is.
I was impressed with even them. Like, I mean, you had somebody, one of your friends, drive her back to the slab. Yep. They had the gauges out. They had everything going, and like it was almost a blink of an eye. Trying to record it, and it's like, what are they doing? And I didn't even know where to even start.
That's part of the reason why I've made Star my new home with Beach Ridge Closing is the amount of professionalism there.
I was shocked. I thought it was fun. I haven't
typically in short track racing and racing in general, you have some kind of favoritism, or you at least people are accused of politics and whatnot, and I haven't seen much of that at Stars. As far as what I've seen personally.
Right.
Everything's pretty even across the board. Some things that I don't typically agree with, but that's the way it is. That's what they have rules meeting for, and I wasn't a part of the rules meeting, so I can't really complain. I don't have a leg to stand on. It's not that I didn't want to go to said rules meeting. It's just in the wintertime I'm plowing, and typically I need to be close to work.
I got you
for call-ins. So, but I did say praise of changes and whatnot, and if I don't go there to voice my opinion, I don't really have much to stand on. So,
no.
But I really like Star.
Life.
Yeah, the track itself, driving style matches what I seem to be gravitating towards.
Mm-hmm.
I know in the interview last year, I said that I kind of mirrored myself after Ray as far as starting, but this year I kind of took on a little bit more of a, not that Ray wasn't aggressive, but I tried to up my driving style to be a little more aggressive, because now I'm racing with I hadn't really raced side by side for other than a lap or two against somebody, and this year I had more than I had previously races where I was a side by side for somebody for multiple laps.
Yeah.
So it was a learning curve. I had to learn how. All right, well, I didn't. Racing is a full contact sport, so you get rub them up a little bit, and if you need, not if you need to, but it happens, and they rub me up a little bit, pinch me, don't give me enough, try to keep me from using all the room I need to get the car to go where I need it to go, and I need to do the same thing with them, and that was a learning curve I got to work on this year, because you can do that as much as you want in practice if you have somebody that's a teammate or a friend that say, I'll run on the outside of you, or I'll be on the inside of you and run on the outside of me to work on your stuff, and that's nice, but it's nothing really like racing conditions to really work on that and to really hone that ability.
Right, yeah.
So this year I got to do that.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. You know, so I got to see 2 of your races, and I got to tell you, I was really impressed. We've got a lot of fans out there, Ryan.
Yeah, I like to think I do. But
You really do. So I contacted some people last night, and I asked them, if you were going to sit down with Ryan, what were some of the questions that you would want to have?
Really?
Yep. So you ready? You want to hear them?
Sure.
All right. So first question is there anything that would make you stop racing?
Money.
Money. Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. This year has been very tight. Anybody locally has known that this winter was not a typical Maine winter.
Right.
We kind of it took forever for us to get a storm in,
Mm-hmm.
and I plow. That's where my overtime, going from my previous job to working for the Maine Turnpike now.
Right.
I swapped, and I came from a construction, driving a dump truck for a company, and not this company, different company.
Right.
So I, doing that kind of swapped, I did it kind of as a family / a racing move, going from that company to the Turnpike, moving my busy time of the year from the summer, in the construction industry, to the Turnpike, plowing in the winter.
Right, yeah.
The last season was pretty nice. It also wasn't a typical Maine winter. It wasn't heavy, but we had overtime, pretty good amount of it. Made some good money, but this year it took forever for us to get any kind of storm, which limits the amount of overtime I have, and that's a lot of the stuff I did this time last year came out of that, because I never really got any incoming sponsorship money until probably later in March, early April. I had a little bit trickling in here and there, but I was looking at my my past transactions on Venmo and stuff, and I never got my big sponsorship from Justin at One Stop until the end of March. And as you know, the end of March, we were already, this time last year, we were just bringing Penny in from taking apart.
That was about the time that, you had the parts.
Yeah, and but the body work, the metal and the welding wire and the welding gas and everything and all that stuff came out of my overtime, which allowed me to still pay my bills at home. Right. And put some away and get stuff for the car to get the car. Right. I haven't had that this year. Right. I'm not gonna lie. I know I had stated in the post earlier that my goal was a top 5 in points, but it's looking like I may have to scratch that for the year. Yeah. And I've actually already had a meeting with another individual, a friend of mine, to share the role of driver in the 57 this year. Yeah. Just to make sure that because the car is not going to get any faster, any better. Right. Just if I miss a race or miss half the races, which is real big possibility this year.
So let's go right now into helping support Ryan. Ryan has a Venmo that I'll have posted right here over my voice, and if anybody wants to donate, sponsor, anything like that, you know, you can click on the screen on that QR code with your cell phone under camera, and be able to, you know, help Ryan out in this to get him going for the 2024 season. If you want to be a sponsor and you have a decal or you're a small company and want to do something like that, you're welcome to contact Ryan at Stuart Racing on Facebook.
You can message the Facebook page directly. That because I'm pretty much the sole force of that. My wife is an admin on it.
Yeah.
Mike Twist is an admin on it, but the notifications come straight to my phone because I do everything. Everything racing related goes through my phone.
Yeah.
So I'll get it, and then I can, if so need, I can give you my phone number so we can talk more directly,
Right.
and whatnot. But
Yeah.
the message to Stuart Racing page first off would probably be a good step.
Okay.
First step.
And like I know I don't have huge amounts of money to give to you, but I know of people that may, and I've been trying to pass your name out. You know, so hopefully one of these people will contact you. You know,
Yeah.
get you a good little sum so you can have a good racing year coming up. So back on to questions from your fans. How's this one? Oh, it falls right into it. Is it expensive to do this? Like, do you have do you have an average of like when you put it all together, you divide it by your races and everything on what each race pretty much costs you?
I haven't broken it up into race, in that per race, but it varies depending on as long as there's nothing that the car needs, no broken parts, I'm not fixing fenders, or putting the fenders on from an accident or crash or something. It's probably, I added up the full season. This is just race fuel, towing fuel, my admittance, oil changes through the year every 3 to 4 races. It's $4,000 just to show up.
Yeah.
And and that's not, other than the oil changes, that's not any other kind of maintenance. As long as nothing goes wrong, that's the minimum.
That's the baseline that you.
So if it's a non-tire week where we're not allowed to buy a tire, or it's an off week, it's $50 for my towing fuel to get to Star, because I live in Epping. It's an hour and 40 minutes away, so it's over 3 hours
Right.
round trip. So it's $50 with the old truck. I got a new truck that's better on fuel, so but with fuel prices, it's still probably $50 to get there and back for the truck. For an even amount, another $50 for race fuel because I run half gas, so it's a little more. And $30 to get in, so there's 130. It's probably just to get there and show up with the car. If I didn't have to do anything during the week, it's $150 a week.
Wow.
Which last year I had, beginning of last year, I had that, getting back to the money part, I was bouncing off that. Yeah, I was paying my admittance fee and I was kind of fronting a little bit more to try to keep that sponsorship money going as long as I could.
Right, yeah.
So I was paying my own way in, which I would typically do anyway.
Right.
And then getting gas on my own dime, and I would fill up Fridays on the way home from work. That way, when I fill up the next time, it's solely race car stuff.
Right.
Race car related, so that would come out of the sponsorship.
Yeah,
But
that makes sense.
right now, all the sponsorship money that I have, I've bought body parts for the car.
Right, just to try to get her out there.
Penny needs a new dress. So.
Penny needs a new dress.
Yeah, so actually 3 days this week, 3 days in a row, I actually came home from work with body parts for the car. So it was a $600-700 week.
Wow.
Just in body parts.
Wow. When do you start breaking?
Working on it.
Yeah, breaking her out of the snow. Breaking her out of the mud. How's that?
At this point in time, yeah. No,
right?
I've it's been cold here this week, but I try to move the trailer around. If we got snow, I would typically try to knock snow off once it got to be a little more than what I would like to see. But the hood got totaled last year. I wasn't able to use it. I had given that to Justin as a souvenir. And the fenders went to a couple fans. One picked it up at Ella. Took one.
Yeah.
The front bumper cover went to Ella, and the other one went to a fan straight from Track and Treats.
Right.
Right now, I got a new hood that came off the 33. That's just kind of sitting on top of the air cleaner, so I didn't want to keep a whole lot of extra snow weight on top of that.
Yeah.
But she's been sitting on the trailer since we come home from Track and Treat. I have moved the trailer around a few times. I've towed it a couple times just up the street with the new truck.
Yeah.
And moved it around. I actually moved it back behind where I park my truck at home, where the trailer would typically be during the summer.
Yeah.
Because in the winter months, I park it on the front lawn.
I got you. All right, next one. So this one I had never even thought of, and I understand what the question is. Is drafting relevant at the speeds that you guys are going? Can you describe drafting for anybody?
For anybody that doesn't know drafting, it's following the car in front of you, using the car in front of you as breaking the wind. So there'll be less resistance on your car. Runners do the same thing, cyclists do the same thing.
Right, yeah.
That way they don't have the resistance of the air on top of them, which I like to think if people that are running do it.
Yeah.
60,
I do it
50.
at Hannafis, but the older ladies, they don't.
Yeah, they don't like it when they don't like it when I bump draft them.
Right,
so.
yeah, exactly. And the older guys just want to fight you when you're drafting them.
Unless I see somebody else with another racing sticker on, I try to stay off of them at the grocery store. But no, if they're doing it running, I'm doing at Star, I think, just total mile per hour based on lap times. I'm doing 60s, 65-ish.
Yeah.
So at the end of the straightaways, I'm more than that because you got to slow down for the corners. But if they're doing it running, they're doing it cycling, doing 20, 25.
Why wouldn't it work for you?
It does, as far as like comparing it to the Cup Series and the higher divisions that race on the Saturdays and Sundays. It's and on the TV, it's not quite as extravagant, especially at a local short track that is a quarter mile. But that's, you stick your hand out the window.
So it's not as beneficial.
It's not as beneficial.
Yeah.
Aerodynamics isn't quite so much of an area that a lot of short track racers really, especially on a quarter, third mile bull ring or track would typically. But you stick your hand go out the window doing 50 down the highway and kind of give it an angle like that. It's gonna want to push your car down, and the same thing if you go like this, it's gonna want to.
That's a great thing to actually think about when you're, because that's what the tail fin does.
That's
right?
that's what that's what the whatever it's called.
You're the car guy.
But that's what it does.
That's what that does. Yeah. All right. I thought that was a great question.
Rear spoiler. That's what the
rear spoiler.
That's what the rear spoiler does.
I'll edit that.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'll leave it in.
We'll fix that one in post.
You're right. Exactly. Back to the guys back at the garage. Yeah. Let's see. Have you ever been injured racing? Or let's throw this on there, because from what I saw, racing is an element of danger. But while you guys are grinding, cutting, you've got heavy equipment, you've got motors lifted up in the air. Have you ever taken a good shot?
In the car, there's been days. I had a big wreck at Beach Ridge, which ripped most of the rear of the body off. I can send you a picture of that one.
Yeah, I'd like to see that actually.
Jamie Williams, rest in peace, got a real good picture of the aftermath of that and what we looked like when we tried to come back on the track after trying to fix it. I didn't finish that race. That was a case of nowhere to go. I was, as far as sore after an incident, that was the most sore I've been. But it wasn't anything major, just bruises and stuff.
Right.
But as far as like working on it, I never really thought of it. And I'm prone to injury and cuts and scrapes as much as the other guy.
I'm looking for wood, Bob.
Yeah.
Where is some? There we go.
And,
knock on that wood.
I mean, my wife always knows when I've been getting in and out of the race car, and it's when it's that time of year, because I got bruises here, and here. Because that's I'm not gonna sugarcoat this either. I'm a big dude, and I got a small window, and because my seat's so far forward with my headrest in the seat, it's kind of a tight for somebody my size to squeeze in there. So, but it's. Cuts and scrapes come with the territory, especially working with grinders and whatnot, and hammers and impact guns, and
and let's face it, you're lifting the engine like you did last year. You pulled the engine out of the other one there, so you didn't add a penny. I don't believe you just pulled the heads off.
Out of the 33 we did, but we pulled that motor out of that one so we could take the horns off of that. But it's heavy lifting.
Yeah.
So it's as far as in car as a driver, as far as a crash, I haven't been injured badly, other than sore after an impact or two.
Scrapes and
bruises while working on the car is typically the most that I've gotten knocked on.
Yeah.
I know this is like a drywall, but
close enough right now. All right. Let's see. One fan wants to know: does anyone in your family give you a hard time about racing cars?
My wife.
Your wife? Yeah. I can honestly see that. Mine would.
I can. And racing takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of money. Mm-hmm. All of which, especially now with 2 kids, I don't have much of any. It's part of the reason why I took the job at the Turnpike Authority, is it gave me a little more time in the summertime to do that. I'm home more,
right?
Because in the summertime it's 40 hours. I'm not working 50, 55, 60 hours like I was. Mm-hmm. So I'm home more. I'm able to be more present at home. Luckily, she puts up with it well enough as she can. I don't expect her to. She supports me. Mm-hmm. She's not overly, like I said, she's not overly enthusiastic about the amount of time and money that I put towards it, but she understands. This was our second date was to the Augusta Car Show, and I said, and I told her then, I go, this is. A lot of people have an addiction. This is mine.
This is it.
This is what I do on the weekends in the summer. This is what I'm passionate about. This is what I love to do. And at the time, I was only a crew member. That was 10 years ago.
Wow.
And not to keep talking on that part of it, but there's a reason why I took her to that. She knew the end game eventually is to get into a car, get strapped in behind the wheel, and race myself. And I've always been I never really wanted to be one of the ones that did one race season and then be done, or 2 or 3. And I've wanted to have a career that well enough that I could look back at and be proud of. And
I definitely think you should be proud.
I'm very proud of what I am now, but I've still got more digging to do. I mean, I got checker flags that I still want to get, and as stated before, I do this a lot for Jeffrey, a friend of mine that passed, and I know he wouldn't be happy until he saw me jumping on my roof with a checker flag in my hand. So, which I may need a new roof afterwards with my 300-pound butt on it. We'll deal with that bridge when we get to it.
Right, worry about that one afterwards.
So as far as Adam, she supports me. My family supports me. They all support me, and they're glad to see me do well. Every time I get home from the races, there's a picture. My daughter draws a picture of a race car, of 57 or something. And actually, when I finished third, I got home and they had. You walk through my door and it's immediately my washer and dryer. And when I got home that night, that was a late night. I think I got home about 12:30, 1 o'clock the next morning, and there was there's a congratulation drawing from both my daughter and my son, taped up and leaning up on the washer and dryer for me. That's first awesome. Thing I saw when I walked through the door, kind of put a tear in my eye. So
that's awesome.
So,
yeah, that's awesome. All right. Here's one I never thought to ask you before. Do you aspire to become pro? Would you like to go up into the series, into the big boys?
Unfortunately, I am far too old to be able to do that.
Oh, is it? That's a factor, eh?
It is, because nowadays they're all kind of they're in full fender pro series super late model. By the time they even have a license to drive on the road, so,
right?
When I was a kid, that was a dream, but I was never able to go with really chase that. But I won't turn down if DEI, or not DEI, but Hendricks calls me tonight and says, "Hey, I got an open seat for you. You want to jump in it?" But you fly me down, because front me the money, fly down. I wouldn't turn it down, but I am. It was a dream one point in time, early when I was really, really younger. But right now, I'm perfectly happy being in the Mad Bomber or Slingshot's a star. And,
Yeah.
I'm perfectly happy where I am now. I'm not. But if I move up to street stock or something, if I happen to suddenly come into some money or somebody that wants to put me in their car, and I wouldn't turn that down either. So, but I'm having perfectly the right amount of fun where I am right now.
Nice. Glad to hear that. All right. So I kind of witnessed a little something. I think it was more dogging than anything. But here's a question from a fan. Do you have an enemy on the track? You know, you always had the 3 and the 24 battling it all back in the day and all that. Do you have anybody that's
like a rival?
A rival, yeah.
I don't really think so.
No.
I know I actually raced against. You brought up the guy that drove my car from the front stretch for the night.
Oh yeah.
He's actually a coworker of mine, so I always enjoy racing with him because he doesn't race full time.
Right.
His name's Seth Drown, and but as far as like a rival, it's some that I know race a little more rough than the others.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just a difference in driving style. At Star, ran into it kind of at Beach Ridge for the season I had there. There's a few people that I knew if they were going to get to me that they were going to put the bumper to me, but I wouldn't really call that a rough rival. That's their personality and whatnot. And there's some people that I probably, at that time, probably I would put the bumper back to them if I could. But as far as a rival, people that I would rough up or whatnot, no. I know how much money goes into this.
Mm-hmm.
We're not making money at this by any stretch of the imagination, and we're not bringing home the thousands of millions of dollars. And whatever happens to the car on a Saturday night has to be fixed to be able to be at the next race. So I'm not going to put my car and myself to even get hurt, but the car to be put in a position that's not needed, which is key there. Not
Right.
needed. An unnecessary situation where I'm going to have to spend all week fixing it.
Right. That makes sense.
So, but there is some people that if I see in my spot mirror that are coming up behind me, I say, all right, well, I'm going to have to brace myself a little more on this one, and that really happens with everybody at some point in time. So it's not any one individual. Every situation is different. And obviously, when you get down to the end of the season towards championship night, everybody's scratching and clawing for points. Those that are trying to get what they can for points, that are in their goal is the points.
Yeah.
So you know they're gonna the BS that they're gonna put up with is a little less. But just getting back to it, as far as a individual rival, I don't really have.
No.
I get along with pretty much everybody out there. It's taken me a little bit longer to build a rapport with drivers at Star, even though it's my second year. But there's some people there that I've because I came up around Beach Ridge. A lot of the people I race against I had already known. We had a really, really good crew of Mad Bomber JVs. There was the real fun. Well, there was a couple eggs in there, but it was a really fun group of people to drive with. And really, all the drivers of Star are as well. So.
Oh, that's outstanding.
Yep.
That's outstanding. All right. You started out when you got Penny going.
Yep.
The first race was coming up. The very first race. Not your
First race on the schedule.
The very first race on the schedule was coming up. I got the text. She was blue. She was on the trailer, but she wasn't decaled.
She wasn't even blue.
Oh, she wasn't even blue.
She wasn't
at that
even
time?
blue. Nope. So we this time, like I said, this time last year we were transitioning from stripping the parts car to bringing Penny in to start going. And we knew ahead of time that there was some motor issues. I thought we were going to have to pull the motor completely. Come to find out, and this saved us a lot of time. It wouldn't have been as close as it was to the first scheduled race that we got out there if we had to, but just the top end with the heads. So by leaving the whole motor in there, it saves us a bunch of time.
Right.
So we ended up, while we were waiting for the heads to get repaired for the start of last year, this past season, Billy, the car was at Billy's, and we were we would do body work. The rear horns needed to be replaced because they were soft from rust from when the car was sitting when I got to it. So the rear horns needed to be replaced, which means the whole rear deck area needs to be done, which then means we needed to make a new cage for the fuel cell. All time-consuming stuff, and that's all on top of doing the body.
Right.
Putting the new doors on, putting the fenders that we got off of the 33 on, and I reused the front bumper cover from 2022 to last year. All time-consuming stuff. I probably waited too long to start working on it in the first place, which is kind of something that's rolled over from when we were Buckstucky, with Ray as our driver, but ultimately it led to the car was drivable. It was together, body was all on it, in time to be able to go to the first race. However, if I would have gone, I would have lost a day or two that weekend where Billy would have been able to paint it.
Right.
Because Billy had prior obligations the following week to do some family stuff, which is it's what I've been fighting with a lot of my help is just even the part-time help that I have, they have prior obligations. I mean, this is life outside of racing, which I don't fault anybody for. I probably could do a little more of the family stuff, to be quite honest, but this is the hobby that I've chose. So he had prior obligations. He was either do it that weekend and miss the race, the first scheduled race, or it would be probably another few weeks before he could get to painting it. Which the longer it goes to paint, the longer it is until I could get decals on it.
Right. Yeah.
And I still also raced it without decals from Jesse at Stick It, Custom Vinyl Graphics for 2 or 3 more races. I had duct tape numbers for the first couple of races, which it looked pretty good because I have lime green duct tape that I used to write down the tire measurements on all 4 corners of the car. So it kind of matched what I already had going because the numbers from Jesse were going to be green. But it was a bland car. Other than the decals that sponsors had supplied for me already, so I had some on there, but it wasn't full. Luckily, we were able to get it decaled, and Jesse got the vinyl to me in time to get it decaled and all together for the Bunny Car Show last year. So, but
well, got it. You got it. You got it down there.
Yeah. So missed the first race because of that, and that was a hard pill to swallow, but it made it less of a issue because it was a points race, but it wasn't. It was a blanket point race for everybody. So if I'd have run that race, maybe I'd have maybe gotten 6th in points. I don't remember what the difference was between me and 7th and 6th, but
right.
I don't know if it would have been enough, but maybe.
Well, things you learn. Things you learn.
If anybody wants to jump in for this year to help, even if it's part-time help, I'm open to any kind that I can get.
Yeah, that's outstanding. Again, contact you on your Facebook page if you're interested.
You don't really have to have any kind of experience or anything. If you can run an impact gun or you can read a tire pressure gauge, that's really all I require.
Yeah,
if you can run a floor jack to jack the car up, if you're interested, I can find a place for you to help on the car. So I've kind of lacked in the note-taking area portion of the car. I haven't really written down setups and tire staggers like I really want to have a good notebook on the car for Star and Oxford when I do go to Oxford or another track. And those are always really key to be able to set up the car. As far because the tires are really where the car meets the tracks.
Right.
So that's really what I take the notes on. And I've really struggled on that the last couple of seasons because I haven't had the help. So Mike and Ella, I want to we kind of did I mention them in that sponsor?
Oh, you did.
I did.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I mention Mike and Ella again. Mike is. I'm very thankful for the help Mike and Ella have given me this year. Ella's only 15, but she's taken on the tire specialist role with flying colors. She does whatever I ask. She gets the tires set for me, so that's taken a lot off my plate, so I can focus more on just the driving.
Yeah.
Which has really helped. I tell her I need X number of PSI in or out of this tire for the feature for practice to try something. She's on top of it. She gets the tire sizes where I need them, and she's stepped into that role with and passed with flying colors. So, and Mike, as much as he says he's just kind of just Ella's transport, Mike takes care of like the on race day, the stuff that you see on the page. That's him.
Oh, that's
posting.
it.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't.
So
I did meet him down there.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was a different. Okay.
So because the whole social media is kind of, I know a lot of people say it's not good for racing, but if you allow it to not be good for racing, it's not going to be good for racing. I've always tried to make sure to promote, even when we were Bucks Tucky, somewhat professional for a local amateur sports team. Part of that is on race day, because all the pictures that I would get are, all right, I mean, I can't get any pictures of me on the track with a cell phone. You take some pictures with it. So unless I get some pictures from the track photographer, which is Rick Hayes at Star, and so Mike's been able to get some pictures, some action shots, some shots of me and Ella and whoever else shows up to working on the car itself. Because all the stuff I was getting was, all right, well, here's a picture of the race car on the slab. Oh, here's a picture of the car at the end of the night. You know, that's always a good help. You always have some kind of content to put out other than the same.
Right.
Here it is on the slab. Here it is at the end of the night. Oh, now we're heading home with it on the trailer.
I bet you sponsors like it.
They do.
Honestly,
they do.
You know, I see that you list everybody that's on your car, every post that you do.
Yep. So, I try, and that's another thing. Kind of pitching this whole sponsorship thing is you get more than just your logo, your name on a sticker slapped on the car. I try to use the Facebook page to promote as much. If another somebody that sponsors me has a Facebook page, I'll link them straight to that from our page, tagging them, and I try to scroll on about once a day as Stuart Racing, so that if I see like this sponsor is running this deal, buy one get one free or something like that, or a deal or a special event or something coming up, I try to share that on ours, and I try to do that as much as possible. I also try to put the car out in other spots to be seen other than at the racetrack. I did a parade, and I did 3 shows last year. I did track and treat last year. I just plan on doing it as long as scheduling allows with race scheduling. I still plan on doing all those last year. Back to the sponsors that have returned. Oh, like I said, all my sponsors that have signed on to this date in March of 2024 they're all returning sponsors, including Mike Twist with Twist Family Farms. The Twist Family Farms is a new sponsor, but it's still Mike.
Right.
He just has an entity to promote himself with.
Yeah.
But I'm also selling those checkerboard squares, which were a huge hit. I sold all but 2 or 3 of them last year when I started selling them. Those helped last year, especially battling with chasing the fuel issue.
How much were the checkerboard squares?
$30 last year. I've continued the price for this year. I've got probably a dozen sold. Actually, Bobby Weber from Star is the most recent one that's purchased.
Outstanding.
Purchased one. He purchased one last year as well. And, big thank you for everybody that has already. And last year that bought a checkerboard square that was. I mean, it's $30 is $30, but when you get 36 squares, that's a good amount of money. So if you want your name on the car somewhere, but you don't want to foot the bill for a big full sponsorship. You won't be named, but I'll do it, and I'll thank you with a post and whatnot.
Yeah.
But you still get on the car with whatever you want in your checkerboard square.
Outstanding.
So actually, Josh and Tyler, the ones that drove the 2 sister cars to mine, each bought one back to back. And just as an example, Josh drives the 70. He used to drive the 73 Slingshot Mad Bomber, and says he had something. 73 was here, and his brother Tyler drove the 14. And I go, "What do you want? 14 was here. That's what your brother put. Or you want your name?" He goes, "Oh, my brother already bought one." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "But 14 is greater than 73." So you can have whatever you want with an exception, because they're 2x2 squares.
Right.
But as far as getting back to that, that's always a big help. So.
And like when I went with you, I believe it was the August 8th race, August race back in there. and I went with you, and that was the one where you did the where you had your cards that you were handing out.
Oh, for the autograph session?
The autograph session, and the way you responded to the children.
Yep.
Bob, that was touching.
That's the next generation.
Yeah.
That's
geez,
that
bro,
is
yeah.
that is the key to keeping this sport alive.
Right.
Is getting the kids and the younger generation interested.
Mm-hmm.
This year, past year was a good one because that was the weekend that I had a co-driver where Penny played double duty.
So let's jump into that real quick. We'll move on to some of my notes on this. Is that one outstanding that to like see Ray Jr. Knowing your history, that being Jeffrey's brother, Ray being there at the track also. Seeing Ray Jr. and meeting him for the first time, also very, very nice gentleman, and seeing him suit up, hop behind your car, that must have honestly made you feel pretty good too. Kind of like this was your element that you were allowing somebody else to enjoy.
Penny's my baby.
Exactly. Yeah. Not only that to enjoy, but also to be able to see. Like I don't know what Ray's Junior's ultimate outcome was supposed to be, but allowing him, that was his first race ever, right?
Yeah.
To do that, Bob. I mean, that says a lot right there. You're passing the history along, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
A lot of
especially through his family.
Ray not racing before, but coming from a racing family, was a driving factor why I asked. I trust Ray. I trust Ray with my life. I consider him a brother. That day was probably, other than any day I've strapped in, and it might even surpass some of those, the funnest I've had at the track. Probably helped that I still ended up getting to get to race. I got my race done and over with. Yeah. We fought carburetor issues that day.
Yes, you did.
And and we got him. It actually caused me to not finish as far forward as what I could have. But we got it fixed well enough for Junior to get his full race in.
Real quick before let's hop on the carburetor issue. Was the carburetor issue caused from the fuel line issue? Because if anybody doesn't know, there was a fuel line issue also, correct? For that part of the season,
we were getting debris in the bowl of the carburetor.
Yeah.
And every time I would clean it, put a rebuild kit in it, and it would run great for a race. And then the next race, or moving it around in the yard, or driving it in the shop, it would do the spit and sputter thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd have to open the bowl back out. Absorb all the fuel out of it, spray it with brake clean to get everything out of it and clean it out, and then it would work good.
Right.
But it would always sit at the wrong time during the race. Yeah. Part of it was debris that somehow got into the fuel cell itself, because my father took it over to my father's 1 week, and it spent a week over there, and we disconnected both ends of the fuel line that run through the frame of the car between, because I already have a filter on it that's right. There's a fuel line that comes out of my fuel cell straight to it's probably that long to go straight to the first fuel filter.
Yeah.
I was cleaning that out constantly. I was opening up the fuel cell itself and trying to sop up, and I was always getting stuff. And I thought I'd get it clean, and then I'd still get more debris. So there's still stuff getting past one filter. So we disconnected the line on each side, blew it out, and there wasn't anything in it. Anything in the line, which means the line wasn't coming apart like what I had thought it was.
Yeah.
So I think it ultimately is the stuff coming from the fuel cell itself was getting it. So we put a small dual barbed end filter right in front of the carburetor.
Yeah.
Cured it.
Yeah.
So. But this is the good fact that I think kind of sums up the whole season at Star. I did 11 races at Star this season, between the Saturday series, and then it wasn't as much as previous because of rainouts and stuff to get rained out and moved around, but in total I did 11 races between what was scheduled and missing the first race, and I missed another race that I couldn't go to with another issue. Mm-hmm. I don't even remember what it was. And then there's one race that I had a DNF. So of the races that I was able to go to, there was 11. 2022, which is my first season at Star.
Yeah.
First season with Penny. My average finish was 10th. In 2023, this past season, in 11 races, and this is average. I did more racing there, I think, in 2022 than I did this year, but still an average is an average. My average finish was 7th.
That's outstanding.
Just out, and I consider 7th just outside of a top 10.
Yep.
Really, that's a couple good. That's a couple good things happening luckily happening to you on track from a top 5, and whatnot. So I hope to continue that this way. Whether or not it's I do 5 or I do all 13 races, this year is going to be a. Always hope that it's another good stepping stone to continue
Right.
the upward trend. I'm realistic enough to know that eventually I will have a real bad week. Accidents happen, parts failures happen. So as far as 2023 is concerned, that's kind of where the end of it is.
Dude, you got some intel in your head, man.
And I'm not,
You really
I'm
do.
not a professional at any stretch, and I don't know all of it. So that's why I lean heavily on the 2 team.
Well, just
So-
keep it going in the direction you got it going in. That's what your family and your friends and
Yep.
your sponsors want you to do.
Yep.
Keep it real. Keep it safe out there, man.
Always.
Stu, thank you very much for doing my interview. I
Number
appreciate it
one
this morning.
goal is always to have fun.
Right?
I've waited long enough to get into this part of my journey through the sport,
Yeah.
which is not my end game, to be completely honest with you. But to get to this point where I've always wanted to jump behind the wheel, and I've waited long enough. Waited longer than what I really believe I should have.
Yeah.
Had I been a little bit better with my money in my early to mid-20s, I probably would have been,
Yeah.
10, 15 years into my career by now. But
You're into it now.
I'm into it now, and I get to bring a little boy with me up through the ranks, and
Yeah.
it's looking like he's going to be in a cart in another 3 or 4 years. So
There you go.
I can get my time in while I can. So,
Stu, thank you very much.
thank you.